Welcome to the church basement. When you're doing, grab this guitar case too, guitar stand. One of the things that people are always asking you when you're a musician is like, what's your genre, what's your style? And the more you start doing music, the more you start realizing that a lot of people are doing music, and a lot of people are singer-songwriters, and a lot of people are folk singer-songwriters, and you kind of start to feel like, it's like a little annoying because you don't want to like say, oh, this is my genre, but then there are other times where you're like, well, how do I describe what I do? And so I was doing some brainstorming earlier, actually late last year, and I came up with this term. I was like, so I've been using this hashtag just to kind of like differentiate myself from other songwriters and kind of describe my music and my general philosophy on a lot of things. And I started, and that is church basement songs. And one of the reasons is because this studio that I use is in the basement of my church. The paintings on the wall are a combination of my art and some other people's art. It's pretty random. Some maps. This map over here I got in the garbage in Denmark. Someone threw it away. It's just a regular tourist map, but it was old. And I mean, like, how can you not pick that out of the garbage and take it? I love coffee, so anytime I have a bag of coffee from a place that I really feel is special, I put it on the wall here. My sister drew this. This is my great grandfather. All coffee here. Painting from my wife's grandpa. I think I did that one. I really like Ben Folds. I painted that. This one is from my brother-in-law, Seth. He painted that. This is Aaron and Weiss from Me Without You. I haven't listened to Me Without You in a long time, but really enjoy their music. And this is just a framed version of one of those Danish neighborhood, like regional tourist maps. Oh, and these are both prints. There was like a I'm not sure if he was homeless or not, but his name was Ken Moriarty, and I used to work at the Chicago and State location of Starbucks in Chicago, and this guy would come in with these beautiful prints of drawings and paintings he had done, and he was like, he needed money, so he was asking for money, but he had all these with him and he was selling them. So I bought, these are just two of them, but I have more at home. I bought a lot of those from him because first of all, I didn't have much money, but he was selling them for like 10 or 20 bucks. And I knew he needed money. So it was like a win-win because I got to help him out. And I also got these really, really nice drawings from a Chicago guy. You can obviously tell this is the Washington stop on the L, and here's the Chicago River over here with the bridge.
Do you write a lot of your songs down here?
Yes, I finish the songs here. I write the ideas on my phone notes and on little scraps of paper and on anything I can find. But this is kind of the place where I can quiet everything down, and I tend to be pretty like a little bit of a neat freak about my song ideas. I like to fairly regularly take all the lyrical ideas and all the melody ideas. I'll have a dream about a melody and I'll wake up and I'll hum it quietly so my wife doesn't I don't wake her up. And I take all that stuff and I put it on my computer in a hard. Well, let me just open it up here. So my dad gave me this TV screen that he wasn't using anymore, and I turned it into my computer screen so I can have a huge computer screen. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, it's a little bit of everything down here because doing music full time, you do a lot of different things at the same time to try to make it all work financially. And I'm very thankful to have found a way to do that. But part of it is making notes, leaving notes for yourself all the time. And sometimes I still do that on papers. I try to stay pretty organized on my phone. Yeah, so here's my computer, text messages, and right now the folder that I've been in a lot is the Dad folder. Right here. So I've got all these ideas. Some of them, the ones that are numbered, and I've just started recently doing this, but the ones that are numbered kind of are like the ones I'm taking seriously, and the ones that are not numbered are kind of like maybe I'll get to them. Cheesy radio ad idea, yeah. Anyway, and these are just files of like. So yeah, so I've got this LK folder, which is so I don't forget that my name is Louis Knudsen. But it's like the general folder. It's like the general idea folder. I had an idea one time about company parties. I had an idea one time about even in the suburbs, like whatever, kicking and screaming, so many ways. I have this idea for an album called Half Ichthus. I'm not sure I'll ever finish that. Another one for Old Believer of like just covers of a bunch of hymns. So just like tons of ideas. But this is where all those ideas kind of originally go. So I have this. So I'll take everything from my phone or take something into a Word document and just like dump it into this folder here, and then it kind of gets funneled over the weeks or months or years into oh, this would fit that album really good, or this would fit that single really good. And so yeah, I do try to stay pretty fairly, or as much as possible, fairly organized on the computer with lyrical ideas and melody ideas, or even just like, I mean, lately I've been like, it's so important I've been realizing the importance of banter, of talking to a crowd when you're playing a show. And it's like, and I've never cared much about that. And because of that, I never got very good at it. And now I have some friends who are really good at it. And I'm realizing how far that can go. And I've also got some gigs where they're like, you need to do this. Like, you need to talk to people, or else like, you're not the guy for this gig. And so I sometimes I'm, a lot of times it'll be like I'm driving, or I'm like, just got out of the shower. You're like, oh, this would be funny to talk about. So I've started to actually, and I've heard that this is what comedians do too, is they just like, they're always chronicling things. And then you come back just like, anyone, you have the idea at 2 a.m, you wake up the next day, you thought it was amazing. It's not amazing, but you got if you have that pattern in your life of just like recording the things that kind of seem to stand out as like, oh, that could be something where I could relate with an audience, or get a laugh, or maybe get like a important life moment where like anything that connects, anything that develops connection with people. Trying to get better at that, and part of that is just banter, comedy, just chatting with people in an intentional way. I'm someone who tends to ramble when I don't have like guardrails, when I don't have a set plan. Just like with a song, I mean, if I start playing Country Roads by John Denver, I know how that song goes. Like, it's always going to last about the same time, and it's what people were expecting, and that's what they wanted. When I start to if I tell myself in the middle of between two songs, like, say something to people, like, that's probably not going to end up being like a really good quality moment for me personally, because I just don't do that well in a concise way. I tend to go all over the place. And so yeah, I've started really trying to plan my banter when I play, when I play live, and based on people's feedback, it tends to go a lot better when I do that. Dad. So, the album I'm working on today is called Dad, and I've been working on this for these songs for probably 4 or 5 years. I've got a couple young children. One just turned 4 and one just turned 3. And so, but like a long time ago, I started messing with different tunings, and even though it seemed a little too easy, a little too simplistic, I tried just, people talk about open D. People talk about like, standard tuning, but just drop D tuning where you get that like low D sound. So I was like, I started playing slide guitar and it was way too hard because I was always hitting wrong notes. And I was like, how can I get a tuning that will basically make it impossible for me to hit a wrong note? And that is this tuning, D, A, D, D, A, D. That's the song, the tuning that all my sins. It's a song I often play in that tuning a lot. So the first album I started doing this tuning on consistently was an album I came out with in 2017 called Philip. About like 6 or 7 of the songs on that album were in this tuning. I really liked it. I kept writing in that tuning a lot. And I always thought how cool it would be to have an album called Dad Dad. But that was in 2017 before I had kids. And so then I had a son and then I had a daughter. Now I've got these 2 kids. And to me, it was kind of like, all right, like this is time for the Dad Dad album because I'm a dad 2 times and I have this tuning that's literally called Dad Dad. And so anyway, I went into this album with the intent, and again, going back to the idea of like messing with ideas and kind of like changing them and formulating them. I had ideas and I would kind of like curb them into that open D guitar bluesy folksy sound. Sometimes I'll finger pick, which is more like on the folksy side rather than and that'll be a lot of the songs that I'm working on. They kind of sound like that, and then you got the slide, which is a little more bluesy. Anyway, yeah, I'm really excited about this album. I'm gonna share like a lot of things that through music. I'll be sharing a lot of things that new insights that I have on life due to being a parent, being a dad. And yeah, I really hope that again, talking about relating to people, it was harder for me to relate to people that were parents before I was a parent, and now I have these things where I'm like, oh, I get it, a lot of stuff like that. And so the first song that I'm planning right now, again, this might change, but the first song I would like to be on the album is called Gone to Seed. And it goes back to what Jesus said about unless a corn of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it abideth alone, but if it dies, it bears much fruit. And just that general concept of self-sacrifice, how when you do allow yourself to die, then God, just like the plants die in the winter and they come back to life miraculously in the spring every year, when we do that with our lives, when we become a living sacrifice, when we give up ourselves for something else, God can create new life, create something even better than there was before. That you can take that thing that you were clinging to, don't take it away. I gotta stay alive. It's like, no, when I allow myself to die, something better, I believe, will happen with that. And so that first song, "Gone to Seed," is really about that. Talking a little bit about gear, I had this Silvertone guitar that was from probably the 60s, and surprised it lasted that long. But and I was using that for my dad tuning. But it got to the point where the neck was bending and it didn't have a truss rod, so I wasn't able to correct that. And it got to the point where one octave was like a way different note. Dun, dun, and it was not working. So I actually, even though I like the vintage look of this is a fairly new, it's a brand new guitar from Gretsch. And it's called the Jim Dandy. These are very affordable if anyone else wants to go, like it's not made out of anything fancy. It's laminate, and but yeah, and I actually did the insert of the Fishman pickup myself and drilled a hole here so that it is electric. But and I do have flat wound strings on it too, and it gives it a nice vintage sound. I tried a rubber bridge. I had done some research and people said the rubber bridge could give it an old sound, but that was a little too old, a little too muted. So I was very happy with the guitar itself, and then with the flat wound strings. Yeah, I was pretty pleased with that, and it's really nice to be back playing guitar, where especially during the recording phase of where you kind of need things to be like somewhat accurate. It's nice to be playing a guitar where the octave is true between open and 12th fret. One thing that I am doing that is really pretty new for me is playing this Farmer foot drum kit. And it has taken me quite a while to even really get, like, there are just a lot of little parts of the way that it works that I've had to get used to. There's this guy in Michigan who makes these, and I bought a floor model from him and about last summer, and I'm really happy with how it sounds. It's very easy to it's very portable, obviously, a lot, and actually you can take the cymbals and the snare and the ride cymbal and even this shaft here, and you can remove it and you can put it all inside the kick drum and put it in a car. So it's very compact. This foot pedal part, it all splits apart so that everything kind of stacks on each other, and it's really, really fun to use. And really, for me, it's almost like a creative tool, because when I can just stand and like for me, be like, having artistic ideas is the hardest when you're sitting. It's so much better to be walking, to be doing manual labor, to be driving, to be doing something. You know, people talk about shower ideas, you know, having an idea when you're on the toilet. And it's like when you were thinking about doing the thing, the art thing, that is when your brain, at least mine, tends to be like, nope, we're not doing this. But when you can do something like this that's actually musical, you know, and actually relates to, so it kind of forces you to do this little dance, because you got to be like, you know, you have to move to make it make sound, but my hands are free, so like, so I've done a lot of writing just standing here playing these, and playing guitar and singing, and that's been a lot of fun to use this thing. And what I really like, so until I saw this thing, which the guy from Farmer Foot Drums, he calls it the 4-pedal. He calls this model the 4-pedal. He makes all sorts of different foot drums. But what I didn't like about the anything I'd seen before, and I'd actually tried doing my own little jerry-rigged version of foot drums with like a normal, like a traditional kick and a traditional, not traditional. A friend of mine actually my friend Jonas made a snare, like an upright snare holder that allowed me to play a snare like while sitting down. But what I didn't like about sitting down while playing drums, which is most of the drum kit, like foot drum kits that are out there, is that like my body has to be like this. First of all, I'm sitting, I'm not standing, and so already not as engaged in whatever crowd you're in. And also, singing to me doesn't feel like I have as much air. Like my diaphragm's a little collapsed, my lungs are a little bit like you know, stifled. And so I always wanted to stand, and I always thought, okay, well, and I actually tried foot drums with, you know, I tried playing the foot drums like while I was standing. I remember one gig, and it just didn't feel right. So I kind of gave up on it for a while. Well, I found this guy, and I liked, first of all, that I can stand. Second of all, that the drums are behind me, and that's kind of the way that it's meant to happen. Like, you could switch it around. It'd be kind of awkward if you're like, hey, everybody, my name's Lewis Keys, and I've got a huge hat symbol right in front of my crotch. So the whole point is like to stand, and the drums are behind you, and it's visible. Like, and I get all sorts of comments. Like, people are, especially drummers, like, what's going on here? How does this work? But no, like, I love being able to play my own percussion live. I've tried looping. I've really tried looping. I tried to do like, you know, the Ed Sheeran thing, and I just like, you got to stick with what, you know. You got to stick with what feels comfortable, and I just didn't like being married to that, like, that pedal where it's like I'm always like, you know, like I suppose I could have practiced it more, but I just like I decided at one point, I said, whatever sounds I make, I'm going to make them because my body is doing something, whether it's my voice singing, it's my finger hitting a note on the keys, it's my finger strumming, or my heels playing drums. So I really like that concept. I feel like it's something that is in keeping with a lot of the kind of the sentiments of a lot of my songwriting and my values, like the just keeping things kind of like human, keeping them organic. And so this Farmer foot drum 4-pedal drum set has been really fun to work with, and I've made it. I've kind of made this one of the non-negotiables of my album, is saying like I'm going to record this album with this drum set. Speaking of that, I'll go find that microphone and plug that in. Not that I'm going to use it, but speaking of the album, one of the driving like artistic limitations that I've put on this album is to play it live. And that's actually not new for me. When I recorded my Philip album with my drummer Chris and then bass player Brandon, we recorded that album like live in the studio at Patrick Stoley's Future Apple Tree in Rock Island, and that was and we loved. I mean, to this day, we just love how it turned out. You have to be rehearsed. You know, you have to be ready to go. You can't just go in and you gotta kind of get a tight take at some point so that one that's usable, because there's no point in like saying, oh, we're recording live, but then like hacking everything apart, in the software. So yeah, we recorded that live, and I loved how it turned out. Never really did anything. Everything that I've recorded, most of the stuff I've recorded since then has been track by track. In other words, like, you put on the headphones, you record the guitar first, then record the vocals and everything like that. But one of my main driving values going into this album, this Dad album, is to record everything live. Now, looking at this whole setup with this little monophonic synth right here, I've got this distorted mic right here. You see a lot of other artists do like a clean mic and then a distorted mic just for some variation, especially like bluesy guys. Yeah. So I've got the kick, and everything is going to. So the reason I can do this is because I've got an 8-channel Focusrite interface. I love how this thing sounds. You can see kick, snare, vocals. That's main vocals right there. Guitar, that's coming straight out of the amp. I've got distorted vocals right there. You got the monologue, which is the mono synth, and then the room mic, which is this AKG. This is probably my favorite mic that I ever use right here, and this is just capturing everything in the room, including sound that bounces off these 90s spackled walls and everything. So those are all the inputs that are going in, and I've got a whole mix structure in my recording software, which is Cubase, and I've got everything. So over the years, I've been doing these demo recordings of these songs, and I've been sending them to friends saying, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And I've been listening to them in my car. And so now I've got kind of like a structure of like, okay, this is how I want to mix the kick. This is how I got a template, basically. I've got a mixing template. And what's cool about that is especially doing a whole album, is that I've been practicing. I've been essentially practicing and recording at the same time, which has been fun because it gives me this freedom to kind of like change the lyrics, change the way I sing something, change the mix of the kick a little bit. I'm making all these little changes with all aspects of the song, both lyrically and melodically and more technically, like from the recording side, and then put it on a Google Drive folder and listen to it in my car and drive around and be like, I should probably take that whistling part out, or I should maybe make the kick a little more like thumpy, or maybe like change the attack on this song because it's a little faster, and like extend the attack on this other one on the kick drum because it's a little slower. Really gives me a lot of freedom to work on an album this way. And this is one of the things I love about do-it-yourself artist stuff, do-it-yourself recording, is that you get the freedom to do things the way that you want to do them and really take time with them if you want to take time with it. The other side of that, of course, is the fact that there's the danger of just never giving yourself a deadline and never finishing. And so that's what this is all about. I'm starting to record some serious demos / maybe they'll end up on the album today. And it's all going to be recorded live with me standing here and like literally hitting a note and then playing notes on the guitar and and playing drums with my feet and singing into these mics, and it's all kind of built around that. Looking at the pedals here, I've never wanted to be a shoegazer. I'm not trying to become one, so most of these are just like set it and forget it. What's mostly getting used, which is why I've put it. So this always stays on. I love how this overdrive sounds. You'll hear it in the songs. It's on the guitar all the time. And then this goes through, and there's just a slight delay. You can see the mix knob is almost at nothing, but it's just a nice, tasteful delay. And then this reverb. So this reverb has become something really important for these songs because I use it as kind of like a separation, like a new moment in a song. And a lot of times I'll hit this, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful shimmer reverb that puts the song in like an atmospheric world. These two, this Klon Minotaur clone, just cheap Amazon thing, just adds some crunch, and this is a reverb, and these are both for this distorted mic right here. These that's what this is going through, is these two, and it just gives it a nice little texture. And then finally this mono synth is going through a electro-harmonic freeze, which is basically allows it to be a drone if I want it to. And then it's going through this Mercury reverb. So I've actually got 3 reverbs on here just because, reverb is a good thing. This one stays on all the time and actually adds a nice little reverb flare to the whole mix because, again, I'm recording this all live. Like this just stays on all the time. And so that's just a very subtlety of all the mixes that you're actually hearing. Kind of like, in addition to the room mic, you're hearing everything come through a distorted mic as well, which I actually like how it sounds a lot. This is just distortion every once in a while when I need it. Here's an octaver. I don't use this very much. Here's an octabuzz. I don't use it very much, although I want to use it more maybe in future albums. Yeah, that's kind of the setup for the one-man band live at once recording thing, and I've been working on it, because you gotta just like anything. It's like you gotta practice how it all comes together, and one of my fears in doing this much is that I take away from whenever I play live, I take away from like the audience experience. Like I don't want them to feel like I'm just so focused on my gear that I have that I'm not like looking at them and saying something to them and like just actually talking to them. So that's why I've tried to leave like this area, pretty open. That way, whenever I tear this stuff down and bring it somewhere, I'm still, despite the fact that, yeah, I do have all this instrumental stuff, I'm playing as a solo guy, but at the end of the day, I want in front of me to just be like, just a microphone, just communicating with people about what I'm trying to say. If, in case anyone is interested in this template that I've got, I'm gonna hit Cubase. Oh, there's this file called Kids Sounds. I'd really like to add some cute things that my kids say, just as little like what do you call that in an album, like a little interlude or something like that, just like a short 5-second funny thing that my kids are saying. Okay, let's see. So for example, there's this song called Bury Me Deep, and not to get too in the weeds, I know this isn't like a music production channel. People are not coming, they're not checking out my music to learn more about using Cubase or plugins, but I really, this is one of the things that allows musicians nowadays to be independent, to be do-it-yourself musicians, is that the software that we have access to and the emulations of hardware that the software gives us for such an affordable price really do give us the sound of a 70s album, of a 60s album, if we want that, which is such a desirable, like that, to get that warmth, to get that saturation, to get the overall vibe. So yeah, gain staging right here. We've got this is from Plugin Alliance. Just this is kind of like the when people talk about getting a vintage sound, it's really comes down to these channel strips of using the EQ and the compressor and the gain and the fader, and the fact that that's all just like you can put that on every single channel. For whatever reason, I normally do put this put some kind of channel strip on every channel in a project. And then what Plugin Alliance allows you to do is use this TMT random channel thing, which gives you essentially this sound. Once you apply that on every track, it allows you to have this simulation of the variance in circuitry that you would find on a real recording console, which you would pay like, at least $25,000 for if you were to buy one in real life. And so to have that kind of a nuance, and it is discernible if you go back and forth and try it with and without, you can definitely hear the difference. For whatever reason, I actually chose not to use the Lindell, or maybe I do have it on every single channel in this one. Yeah, it looks like I do. I have it on every single one. And so you'll notice on this kick drum on the Lindell, I hit random and it hit 28. This one hit 29, 30, and it just did this randomly. But all you want is this variance so that not every channel sounds exactly the same. They all sound a little bit different. On the synthesizer, it chose 15. On the guitar, it chose channel 3. And so yeah, you've got all these channels behaving just as they would in a normal, very expensive, recording console, just in very, very slightly different ways. On the vocals, I really worked hard at getting them to not sound too modern. I used some, just some vintage emulations of compressors and what else? And saturation. Got a nice little reverb on there, and I think even I just on the let's see, on the low end. So I actually, right here is where the low end, the lower frequencies are cut off. So I just like you would in a older recording, I kind of chopped off those to make it sound a little bit, almost a little thin, like in a cool way, like I guess my reference was Roger Miller for whatever reason. I was like, I want the vocals to sound like a Roger Miller 60s recording. And so I was going for that very warm, compressed, but also like not completely like full spectrum, like really going for like a sweet spot of like, where do human male vocals sound the best? And so I'm really happy with where I came up with that. Where I landed on that. Everything is pretty simple. You can see, on a lot of projects on modern productions, any given channel, you'll see way more than 3 plugins, which that's what this represents right here. And all this is just a sound level. It's just a VU meter, keeping everything at roughly the same, roughly negative 18 decibels to give me some headroom. Oh, and then so very minimal. You got only channel strip. Room mic. You just got some channel strip, saturation, and a little bit of a widener plugin. But yeah, no more than 4 or 5 plugins on any given channel. And then, and really here's where a lot of the magic is this from Kazrog. This is just a big bus compressor, and it just sounds amazing. Like I'm not going to do an A/B because we don't have audio set up, but if you turn it off and you turn it on, it just adds so much punch, really desirable volume and warmth, without really hardly moving the needle much at all. So I really love having this on my stereo bus. I kind of keep it there all the time on almost all of my music that I record nowadays. And then this is a little bit, and this idea actually came from working on a single with my good friend Zachariah. We're going to be releasing something on May 22nd, but he was giving me some feedback on our track, which was just to take away a little bit of the higher frequencies. And that's what this button does right here. It says high cut right here. I don't know if this comes through, but this is a vintage EQ emulation from the Lindell company. And what these buttons do is, you see this little kilohertz thing, and where this slope kind of cuts down. So you can pick frequencies: 6.5 kilohertz, 8 kilohertz, 10 kilohertz, 12 kilohertz. Now, for me as a 42-year-old, like my high frequencies are, as I age, like they're slowly coming down. I probably cannot hear anything above 12K. Although I can't tell the difference because there's a slope when I push this button. But a 3-year-old can hear like 15K or 18K. They can hear like very, very high sizzly frequencies, which is why you give babies shakers, and like a 6-month-old will like freak out when you shake a little baby shaker or a maraca in front of them because they can hear it so clearly. So all you're doing with this is giving it a tasteful, pleasant chopping off of those higher, annoying, sizzly frequencies with this thing. And this again, this is really the very last plugin that all these sounds are going through before the song is exported. Like all of the processing and everything, this is at the very end, and all it's doing is just taking that high, that 12K and higher, and just dipping it off, like making, and again, like a warm vintage recording, organic sounds from a church basement, songs about being a dad, fits perfectly with that. So once me and Zachariah did that on our other track, I was working in my template, and I was like, that might be a good idea to put on this project as well. Which is the power of collaborating, working with other artists. You learn things, you get feedback, you feed that what you've learned into other projects that you do. So no man is an island. It's really, really good to always be working and collaborating and creating with other people. It's just a good way to just get better overall.